Hi, Book Warriors. Thanks for joining us tonight. We've got kind of a twofer tonight. We're going to do a couple of things. We've got guest Gwen Romack is here tonight with her dog Finn. He's there. He is.
So cute.
And Melissa is going to tell you how she and Gwen met and how she plays into our whole scenario here. And we're also going to talk about Melissa's new book, Murder in Devil's Cove, which I'm really excited about. I just finished reading it and it was awesome. If you haven't read it yet, get a copy. I absolutely loved it. It was a great mix of mystery with and it kind of an adventure story. I was telling Melissa that to me it kind of had a sort of a feel of like Goonies or National Treasure kind of in there because they were very much on a quest to find answers, and so it's got some elements of traditional mystery and then some of adventure, and the setting was awesome on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. It just made me want to go to the beach. So yeah. So anyway, so I'll turn it over to Melissa and Gwen that could talk about how they met and then
we'll go from there. First, I want to point out this is Finn right there on the cover. He's our cover dog.
Cover model.
Yeah, so Gwen and I, it's funny how things happen, right? So I have my best friend, Debbie. Hey, Debbie, I think you're probably out there somewhere. From when I lived in Texas, Debbie is a huge pet lover, dog lover. And so she's part of a Vizsla rescue group because she's got, I don't know, 1 or 2 Vizslas, I think. I cannot keep track of her dogs. And so that's how she knows Gwen, through that Vizsla rescue group. And Gwen, she'll tell you about this in a second, but she writes a weekly update from Finn's point of view about Finn and his humans that he's rescued. And Debbie connected us because Gwen has now published 2 books. The second one came out today, actually. So she's going to tell you a little bit about that, but that's how we got connected. And then Finn became an inspiration for the cover because there is a rescue dog in my book also that is modeled after Finn, sort of.
Well, we have a comment from Leisha Haney from Texas that your pup is beautiful.
Oh, he says thank you. Yeah, so Melissa being very humble. I was encouraged by the Vizsla group to take these weekly posts. I had 2 years of them and turn them into books. And I thought everyone was crazy. I've never written a book. I had no idea what I was doing. And decided to do that this spring. And Debbie thankfully connected with me with Melissa. And she's been an incredible mentor to help me figure out the complex world of writing and publishing, which is far more complicated than I ever realized. And I write a silly dog book. Nothing as complicated and wonderful as Melissa's book. Oh. And I want to echo, I read Devil's Cove twice in one weekend. And I'm not a voracious reader anymore. I used to be, but I read all day for work. And I've just kind of not been into, casual reading. Yeah. I was so absorbed in it. I read it 2 times in one weekend. I got nothing done the whole weekend. It was amazing. And I felt like I vacationed at the Outer Banks, and I have these friends, these characters. I can't wait for the next one. So
it's been so much fun to write. And so first talking about working with you, that's been a lot of fun. I think Diane probably would agree that being in this writing world, it can be very isolating, and especially with COVID, right? And so I think we depend so much on the connections that we have. So I feel so fortunate to have Diane as a great friend and also someone who's really close. So we get to still do things together. But, to broaden the world and our worlds and to have a new connection with you, Gwen, through another friend, it's just been a lot of fun. And it's just this weird kind of connections that happen that, lead to something. And I think that's awesome.
I love that I can text you at 9 p.m. and say, what does this word mean? What is this? Very patient for me.
With a lot of this technology too, because we've had to learn a lot of technology, trying to do our Facebook page and stuff. And it's like, I'm just tearing my hair out, and she's much more calm about things and methodically figuring things out. I think that's the truth.
When we did our first Facebook Live, and I could not get it to work. I was hardly calm. I was like texting you and calling you. It won't work.
Frustrating. Sometimes it's just not intuitive. But we found this great new system now. So
Yeah.
So what's in your guys' cups tonight? I've got the rest of the peach wine, the very last of the peach wine. You got me, Melissa.
Oh.
So I'm very sad to be drinking the last of it, but I'm also very happy to be drinking the last of it.
Well, we know where we can go for more. I'm drinking the rest of my Barbosa Red that I got. My kids got me a wine club subscription from the Raleigh Wine Store. So it gets delivered every month, a couple of bottles. And so this is the last of one of them that I have only had myself. Carlos has had a few sips. This is really my
You have to hide it somewhere. Yeah. What about you, Gwen? What's in yours?
No, I have the world's biggest wine glass, but it has diet soda and vodka in it.
Oh.
I want a posh for this.
Hey, that works.
Hey, we
So
like
how did you get Finn? He was from
Pardon?
the rescue? Was Finn from the rescue?
Yeah, and that's how the weekly updates started. We took him in as a foster. He had failed out of a couple of foster because he was, the devil. Kindly. And we knew we were going to sort of rehab him for a few months and try to fix his behavior issues and get him cleaned up for a family. So I started the weekly posts into all the dog groups so that folks would fall in love with him basically and want to adopt him. And then we figured out after, 6 months of trying not to strangle him every single day, that starting him over in a new family would just set him back to square one. And we fell in love with him. So we foster failed and kept him. And folks loved the updates so much that when I said, we're adopting him, no more updates, they said, oh no, you have to keep going. So we just posted, I think, week 132. I numbered the week.
Wow.
Every Saturday, he just recounts his week and all the trials and tribulations of dealing with his terrible service that he gets here.
That's the best fail you ever made, right?
Yes, totally.
The best come from failures, they say, right?
Yeah. The rescue, I'm sure Kat knew. Her name is Kat. I'm pretty sure she knew we would fail long before we did.
The dog rescue lady is named Kat.
Yeah, with a K.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, it is addictive, I think, for people to see an animal story, because I know there was this little kitten on Facebook, Sparky McGee, and somebody in my writers network had this kitten. Y'all maybe even seen it, but it was probably a year and a half ago, and she used to post pictures of him every day. And it got to where my husband we'd wake up in the morning, he'd go, "What's Sparky?" He'd always say it exactly like that too. "Where's Sparky McGee doing?" And then she stopped posting. We can't find Sparky McGee anymore. We're like, what happened to Sparky McGee? I guess he grew up.
If I don't post that update by noon on Saturday, I get messages from people upset. What's going on? Are you okay? Where's the update? He has a lot of personality. He actually has a YouTube channel too, because he has 1,000 facial expressions. I don't know if you agree. I've never seen a dog with so many facial expressions.
He's pretty incredible.
And he's frequently dissatisfied and real judgy. And guy. He is so funny. He really is easy to write for.
So you'll have to put your YouTube channel and Finn's Instagram and Finn Chronicles Facebook in the comments later. Yeah. Yeah. And you should put the covers of both the books. Yeah. It's so.
How did we get him to keep those glasses on and not paw them off? I think my dogs would go crazy.
He's actually kind of into clothes too. He'll wear hats. He has crazy hats, and he'll wear them for a half an hour and just watch TV wearing a Viking hat.
I'm doing
it pleases audience, huh?
Yep.
I'm doing a Halloween post for this blog, and so I asked Gwen if she had any pictures of Finn in Halloween costumes, and then in come the text, picture after picture after picture of Finn in Halloween costumes, all dolled up. And so
when someone says, "Do you have a picture of Finn?" It's like 30,000.
We have a comment from Shirley who says, "I thought only cats do seem to be pretty darn judgy. Mine are judgy." Very judgy.
Yeah, both Finn quite a care.
Yeah, I can see his expression there. Like, what are we doing?
He wants us to keep it down.
He's such a cute dog. The dog in my book series is a female, which I won't tell the name for those people who have not read the book, but because the name's revealed at the end. But yeah, she's a female, and then she's Diane's dog, Reggie. Thank you. Influenced this dog too, so I won't tell that reveal either. But yeah, both of your dogs are an amalgamation and have created this dog.
Let's see if I can get Reggie over here. She's laying over here by me, but she's, I don't know if I angle my thing. Let's see. The wrong way. That's Junior. Where's Reggie? There's Reggie right there. Well, do we want to talk about Devil's Cove now?
Man.
Yes.
Because I had the same experience as Gwen, where it just read really fast. And I had a few times I had to take a break to, make a meal or whatever. And I just was like, I really want to get back to this because I want to see what's going to happen. Because I felt like the characters really pulled me into, like I really cared about their story and their, what happened to them. So, well, my first question is about names. Like I was kind of intrigued by all the names that you had in this book. And so Pippin and Gray had been named after Lord of the Rings characters. So do you read? Are you a Lord of the Rings fan, a Tolkien fan?
Yeah, I love The Hobbit, and I love all the movies, and I confess I haven't read all of Lord of the Rings, but my son, Sam, has always been a huge Tolkien fan, and in high school, he and his friends, they really loved that series, and so it's always kind of been a part of our household for a long, long time. And then, just the whole book magic component of this series, I really felt like I wanted to carry it through to their names and to Pippin's father. So, and then the other component is my daughter, Sophia, has a roommate whose parents are crazy Tolkien fans, and her middle name is Pippin. And so when I heard that kind of planted the seed. So Katie, Pippin, this one's for you. So that kind of planted the seed, and then the bibliomancy element, kind of just cemented it that I really wanted Pippin especially to be named after that series. And then I went through, I went through all of the names to try and figure out, well, who are they? And Pippin just stuck with me. And then Gray, I went through a few different ideas, but none of them, quite worked really well. And he's, he's going to evolve and kind of, I think, embody some of Gandalf the Grey's best qualities. So
yeah, but it is interesting how much can go into a name when you're writing a book, and researching names and stuff like that. So I thought and those were the perfect names for him to be, from a book. I mean, that was a very fitting. And I thought, I kind of laughed at some of the other names too, like Harold Manatee, because he kind of looked like the manatee, and Daisy, who's named after, at first I thought it was flowers, but it turns out it's a kind of fishing lure.
Yeah,
that was perfect too. And Hattie Pickle, I loved her.
Hattie
so
Juniper.
I hope we're gonna see more of her. She was very a lot of comic relief with her. So, so I love how the story explores people's relationships with books. And while Gray devoured them, Pippin wasn't a big reader and struggled when she was younger. She seemed nervous when she first approached the town's library for the first time again as an adult. So did working as an English teacher give you special insights into children's relationships with books and reading?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I think I've encountered plenty of students in my time that are dyslexic or, just don't like reading. One of my own sons has not been a big reader, which has been like a knife to my heart until about 6 months ago when he discovered Game of Thrones. So he watched the series with us. We watched it the second time and with him the first time, and then he picked up the books and he's been devouring them. So yeah, I mean, I've had experience with reluctant readers, kids who just don't have books click with them, and then dyslexic readers. So, when I was thinking about why Pippin doesn't have this connection to books, a lot of it's because, it's forbidden, right? They just are not allowed to because of this curse or gift, depending on how you look at it. But I wanted it to go a little bit deeper than that with her. So Gray figures out a way to access books and he loves them, and he doesn't have the bibliomancy to hold him back. But even if Pippin had made the decision to do what Gray did and just read the books, she never was able to make that connection because it's been a struggle for her. So yeah, it's just kind of interesting, right? You know, if you think of a bibliomancer being a book lover, right? But it's just a little more interesting, I think, that she's not, and that's just kind of how she evolved. You know, I think we've talked about this before, that the characters just kind of tell us often who they are. And suddenly things appear on the page that we didn't really realize about.
Well, I think when you said that, you know, her bibliomancer abilities are kind of a blessing and a curse, you know, a gift and a curse, that's probably, you know, how she feels about books too, like, you know, a little bit afraid of them and negative, but then also this is something that can lead her to clues and answers. You know, they're trying to find out what happened to their father 20 years before. Just the family dynamic, I thought it was a very compelling storyline in there too, because you just really felt for them. Like they just wanted answers, you know, and you could see why they would want answers. You know, people want to know who am I, and why did the people who were supposed to love me do the things that they did? And
why aren't they here? Yeah.
So the quotes that you had in the book too, to me, were very intriguing. You had to start each chapter with a quote. So I was always like, ooh, how's it going to play into things? So did you read all the books that you quoted or referenced? And also, how did you come about that? Had you read something and found the quotes before? Or did you go looking for quotes that had to do kind of with the this will be a little bit about how the sausage is made, I guess.
Yeah, I loved finding the quotes, and I did go find them after the fact. Some of them I found as I was writing, but then I ended up rearranging them depending on how the chapter came about. But yeah, I specifically went hunting for different things that would connect and kind of, you know, either not really a teaser, but kind of, you know, represent something that was going to go on in that chapter. So for me, layer of something that I enjoy, because I always enjoy reading books that have quotes at the beginning and figuring out what it means. I'm going to pick up Dobby here. He's whining.
I found my going back at the end of the chapter and rereading the quote.
Oh, that's nice.
I loved the quote.
Yeah.
Well,
that's great. I'm so glad. My mom too. She just felt the same way, that she really loved the quotes, and it added something more significant to her.
Well, it was so perfect, because all of this everything revolves around books. So to be tying in all these different books from different eras and stuff, I just thought, yeah, that was a very clever device that you did there. So
thank you.
So, okay, so this next question that I came up with kind of ties in what we already talked about how it's both a gift and a curse. And I can see why she'd have mixed feelings having this, you know, ability, because it would be scary, especially if you don't know, you know, what it's going to mean for you. But how did you come up with this really cool idea? This is such a cool idea.
Okay, so I must confess that it was not my original idea, sadly. I wish I could take full credit for it, and I cannot. So Wendy Lynn Watson, who you also know, Diane, that in fact, I think that might be the first time we met was through Wendy, when we did a big book signing together. Yeah. She was the one who orchestrated it. Anyway, she writes the Ice Cream a la Mode mystery series, and she also writes a Pet Boutique mystery cozy mystery series. Anyway, we used to live a block apart from each other, and we would go walk and talk about our books and brainstorming and just different things. And she had this idea for this bibliomancer series, and I loved it immediately. I was like, you have to write this, Wendy. And you know, things just got in the way, like her job as professor got in her other contracts, so she just didn't write it. And we were just talking earlier this year, and it came up again, and I was like, you need to write that. And she was like, no, you should write it. And I said, well, how about we write it? And so that's kind of how it came to be. And from there, once we had the idea, okay, we're going to write this series together, we developed what that meant. So basically what it means is my character Pippin is the cousin of her character Cora. Pippin is on the Outer Banks, and Cora is on the coast of Oregon, and they've only met once in life when they were kids, and that's the interaction that you actually see in my book, in Devil's Cove. And so with each book that's written, so mine is first, and then hers comes out December 1st, and then I'll do the next one. She'll do the next one after that. With each book, we reveal kind of a piece of a bigger puzzle that is the story arc for the whole series. But then each book also stands alone with its own mystery. So you don't have to read them, necessarily in order. Because they'll each stand alone with their individual mystery, but then there's this bigger mystery that'll get revealed a little bit at a time. So, we just spent time on the phone and emailing and Google Docs and just talking about how to develop this whole thing. And it came together in such a cool, interesting way that we just both really, really loved. And it's been so fun working on a project and brainstorming together with her. But that's kind of how it came to be. So she gets full credit for the original bibliomancy idea, and then from there we just kind of took off with our individual threads of the story.
Well, it is fun how you can have these projects like an anthology, or like I've done some short stories with friends where we pick a theme. We did a Valentine's theme one year and all did short stories, and we did a Halloween hookups short stories. It sounds naughtier than they were. They were just little cute romance stories, and it was fun because you kind of encourage each other, you get ideas from each other, and I mean the whole saying about fiction writers were liars and thieves, right? We steal ideas. So it just means you get ideas everywhere. But did we lose Gwen?
Where'd she go?
Oh, she's back. Did we lose her?
We did. We lost her. I'll add her back if she shows back up again. Oh, there she is.
Somebody saying hi to Dobby, that they love the name Pippin, and they said Reggie was cute. So she said,
nice.
Another thing I noticed about this book was that the relationship between Pippin and Grey, to me, was very heartwarming, that they were so close, and it has a family theme. And the relationship with their cousins, I think, is going to be, it's kind of a loose link now, but I'm assuming that's going to be developed over the series. And I notice you tend to write a lot of books with family and sometimes with friends that become a family, like in your bread shop series. The people who work there kind of become like a family, and you even say that friends are the family kind of that you choose. So do your books always start with characters in your family and their families?
Yes and no. I mean, they all have elements of family. You're absolutely right. And strong female relationships. There's Gwen again. But in this case, right, the story came first and then the characters were developed. But in the others, I had this idea for the series, for the mystery kind of hook, and the characters really kind of defined what that was going to look like. And so, that was the same in this series too. But I think the concept of the book or the series was a lot more defined before I ever came up with the characters in this particular situation. But regardless, family and those connections, those friendships are a huge part of, what I write, because I value them so much. That's why, it's so fun to be able to talk with Gwen today and see her face to face, because we've only really talked on the phone. But, you develop these relationships with people, and that I love that so much. And so I guess I carry that, not necessarily intentionally, but it just comes through in what I write, and those relationships that develop.
Well, that naturally segues me into my next question, because to me that was a reflection of you in your book. We can't help but put some of ourselves in our books. And in Gwen's case, she's actually really putting herself and her dog in the book for real, because it's nonfiction. But the building the inn, the remodeling the inn.
Oh, yeah.
You've been doing a lot of remodeling on your house, and you've kind of had fun, and you've got a very artistic decorator's eye for that kind of stuff. So is it kind of fun for you to be able to add that into the book too, to have it in?
It has been. I do love the redecorating process. If only I had, unlimited funds to do what I wanted. But yeah, my mom was an interior decorator, and actually so was my uncle. And so I think I come by that artistic nature through them. But yeah, I like the home improvement shows. Do you guys like home improvement shows?
I'm obsessed. I don't do anything to say, but I watch all of them.
Do you have a favorite?
Anything HGTV. I just got hooked on the new one that's a couple in in Arkansas.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I've watched all the shows and I love their relationship. I get more into the people though, like Chip and Anna. I want them to adopt me. I'm going to move into their farmhouse. With that new show, I can't think of the name of it.
It's like, is it Home Sweet Home or something like that? Or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I love Chip and Joanna. And then there was a HGTV competition between 4 different HGTV home improvement show people. And I love that one. I think it's called Around the Block or something like that, but it was a lot of fun. So yeah, to write that kind of stuff is a lot of fun to imagine and remodel in my head.
Shelley is saying that you've gotten to remodel 3 or 4 times in 4 years.
Too many times.
Yeah. And she says she still misses your kitchen from the house in Texas.
I know. We connected over our Aga stove. That was our.
What's that?
It's a British stove range, basically, and it's just very, very cool. And it took a slow ship from England to get to us.
Oh my goodness.
It needed a passport, Debbie joked.
Are you a cook, Gwen?
I am.
Oh
I am. I'm a baker, but I cook.
Yeah, she posts all the time the things she makes for her husband. Oh my gosh.
Although, it's funny. People keep saying, do a cookbook next. And I'm allergic to measuring. I don't measure anything, which is why I'm not a baker. So when I cook, I'll say, I put in a few shakes of this and a little bit of this until it smelled right. And it makes everybody nuts because they want, measurements. And I don't.
Yeah.
I'd be the worst.
That would be a little bit of a drawback.
Yeah.
I'd be like the loose cookbook, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the ingredients. Good luck. Figure out how much of each.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does Finn help you with your cooking?
No.
He doesn't lay there and give you encouragement by looking at you and cleaning up what you drop on the floor. And
No. He's sort of banned from the kitchen because he's very fast and more than made it up on the counter to help himself to raw steak and things. So.
Oh, yeah, Reggie's a counter surfer.
Really?
And she gets up there and she'll be going along, kind of, what is there? And I've been so afraid she's going to burn a paw on the stove. A lot of times I'll use the back burners, but our back burners are just the small ones, not the big ones. So sometimes I have to use the front ones, but I've just been so afraid she's going to burn a paw. She hasn't yet though, but she's pulled plenty of things down, broke lots of plates, and that's her way of helping.
That doesn't happen.
And that's a better size.
Yeah, Melissa,
I was out of town and at our cabin and I dropped something one night. And, at home, if I drop food, I have to clean it up, and then I was like, oh, that's just going to sit there until I clean it up because the dogs aren't here with me.
Melissa, I wanted to say the teaser for the second book totally sucked me in also. I would myself, because it's a different author and I've not had exposure to Wendy before, if I would like it as much. And I tore through that and it took me a minute to appreciate that was a different writer. I was equally pulled in. I'm so excited. I have to bribe her to send me an arc of that.
I know, right?
I cannot wait till December.
I can't either. I haven't read it either. I mean, that's part of why we felt this whole thing would work because we have compatible styles. And I think the biggest difference in how we're doing it is that I'm doing mine in third person and she's doing hers in first person from Cora's point of view, which I think kind of works because it identifies us or differentiates us, each of our book, paths. But they're still really complementary and I think it works together. And yeah, I'm so glad that you're excited about it. I am too.
Yeah. In one chapter, I felt like I was in Portland. I was on the shore in the woods, just like you did with Devil's Cove. I felt like I was on a little vacation there. It's just amazing. You guys are great.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, it's neat that they'll be coming out so often too. Too long.
Well, also what we're doing, and this is kind of fun. We're writing novellas in between, so much shorter stories. So if a book is 70 to 75,000 words, my books, Diane's, yours are like 90,000. But 70 to 75. The novellas are going to be about 20 to 25-ish, we think. And so those are going to release in between. So right now I'm working on the first novella that will come out in November, and it starts Cassie's story. So it's an opportunity to kind of go back and see a little bit of the origin story, you know, of how Pippin came to be, how they came to be on Devil's Cove, and, you know, the backstory of the house and stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun too. And those will be interspersed. And we're going to go back as far as the beginning of the curse. So it'll be fun to kind of map ourselves backwards in that way too, and give readers, you know, that the glimpse of that part of the story that's not in the actual books.
We've done such a great job in this of melding all the different elements. I felt like, you know, because sometimes with a book, something, you know, one part will stand out, like, oh, wow, what a great setting, or, oh, wow, these characters are really good, or, oh, wow, their backstory is really good, or, oh, this plot, you know, is really neat. But I'm kind of like, this is sort of equally with everything. You know, I fell in love with the house. I liked the characters. I was very intrigued by, you know, their family history and this ability, you know, wanting to know where that was going to go. And then the secondary characters were fun too. So I'm like, this has kind of had it all. So very jealous of that.
I learned 2 new words I had to look up. I haven't had to look up a word in a dictionary in probably 15 years. And I texted Melissa and said, you've taught me 2 new words.
And what were they?
Preternaturally.
Oh yeah.
Was that one of them?
Yeah,
and then niggling.
Oh yeah. And niggling of an idea, right?
Yep. I had to Google them.
Well, I have to admit, I've seen Preternaturally, but I'm not sure I wouldn't be able to use it. What is that?
You feel better. Thank you, Diane.
I must have gotten it from the context or something, but I'm not a big vocabulary person.
Not occurring naturally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But now I feel guilty, and I work that into conversations in the next month.
So, yeah. Well, maybe in Finn's, you know, reports, his weekly report.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd use a word like that.
Preternatural. So tell me a little bit more about Finn's personality. So he's got all these expressions. He's judgy. Does he chase balls? Is he playful? Is he a sporty kind of dog? Is he a clean dog?
Very playful. He's very social with other dogs and people. He loves attention. So when we walk him, we live fairly close to a beach and a boardwalk. And before COVID, we would walk almost every day. And if any couple or person would walk past him without acknowledging him and petting him, he would turn and scream and howl at them.
Really?
And the interesting thing to me is almost universally, old people, young people, kids, they instinctively turn around and run back, I'm sorry, and pet him. I say, you don't have to obey him. There's a guy that runs a cafe there that we love, and he, as soon as he sees Finn coming, he runs out with a piece of bacon. He is spoiled. You guys might be of the right age group to know this reference I'm about to make. I was on another forum and no one knew who I was talking about.
I think that's a compliment, but okay.
No, it is. When someone asked me, whose voice do I hear when Finn is talking? Because he's very sassy, he's very demanding, and like I said, nothing is ever to his standards. And I said Higgins from Magnum PI. Do you guys remember?
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but he's British and he's irritated about everything. And he's still lovable and you still want him around. But, you know, he's kind of a 5-star dog living in a 2-star world. And he's mixed with Beagle, which I've never had a Beagle.
So he's a Beagle? He's a
Beagle. Exactly. He's a Beagle. And he's so vocal. I'm surprised he's asleep next to me. So we're not.
Right? That's a Beagle
if
trait.
you look at the YouTube channel, every other video is him having these 5-6 minute long tantrums, howling and throwing himself on the floor. I mean, drama camp was worth every penny for this dog. He's hilarious.
Well, it sounds like he's a really good communicator. If these people understand what he's wanting, that he's wanting them to come back, give him attention.
Oh yeah. He's just so expressive and so vocal, and when he wants something, the minute he thinks of it, you hear about it.
Sounds like he found the right humans for him.
Quote unquote suckers, yes.
How many dogs have you had before him? Have you ever had another dog like him before, or he's kind of
yes, we actually had we had a Vizsla mixed with Pitbull before him, who was 70 pounds. His name was Mr. Snuggles. And I should tell you, Finn's full name is Finnegan Count Smushy Tushy. I'm all about embarrassing names that my husband has to say when he picks up the dog from the vet and things. So he's spinning it kind of tushy tushy. And Mr. Snuggles was Vizsla. That was our first introduction to the breed. But we rescued him because he was pit bull. And there's a lot of, stereotypes about pit bulls, and we wanted to rescue one. He was a great dog. He made it to 14.
Wow.
And Finn actually looks so much like him, except he's only 45 pounds, 40 to 45, and he's much smaller because he's like a low rider Vizsla because of the beagle leg. But sometimes memories pop up in Facebook, and I have to think for a second if it's Finn or Mr. Snuggles. They look so alike in some ways. Mm. But he's a good boy. He brings us a lot of entertainment and gives us something.
He's bigger than that to me. I would have guessed he was like 70 or 80 pounds, but he's 45.
Yeah, 40 to 45. I think he's about 40 right now. He's real short.
So big personality.
He looks bigger than that. And the pictures of him, especially with Evan, your husband Evan, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They're so cute. They're just like little pals.
They are. He loves my husband. So Diane, he calls me the squishy one and my husband the hairy one. They're probably obvious to you, although you haven't seen my husband. He didn't name us for the first few months because he wasn't sure he was going to keep us. So he just referred to us that way. But when we have play dates with other Vizslas, it's astonishing to me when I see him with kind of real Vizslas, pure Vizslas, how much darker, more copper colored, and they're, twice his height, which doesn't slow him down at all. He doesn't care. But yeah, that beagle personality, boy, I've never had one.
Yeah, that's what we've learned about Dobby, the Chihuahua pug mix. He's a chug. We've never had any small dog. We had a pug, and we have a pug, Bean. He's down there licking, which is what he does. But Dobby's quite a bit smaller, and the Chihuahua in him really comes out in that bark, that bark.
They're good watchdogs.
Yeah, and he thinks he's a big dog. Like he gets in there with the big dogs to play.
Do y'all have a dog beach near where you are? Like where you can take your dogs and let them run free on a beach?
We do, but I'm scared to do it because Finn has zero recall.
Oh, okay.
He'd be gone and in someone's car before we knew what was happening.
Oh, yeah. So we lived in San Diego. They had a place called Dog Beach, and we used to take our dogs there, and they loved it. Oh my gosh, they run in the ocean and then see other dogs. But we had a dachshund something mix, and he was kind of like what you were saying about Dobby. He would run up to big dogs and just kind of try to pick a fight. And it's like, okay, do you have a death wish? What are you doing here? But the big dogs, he was so small, they just didn't take him seriously. They're just like, shut up. And then go and do it.
I call that the Napoleon complex for a little
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I'm so glad you guys loved Murder in Devil's Cove.
Loved it. Who do I have to bribe? How do I get a copy of the next one?
Of Wendy's book?
Yeah.
Well, you know someone. You have an in.
Alcohol, baked good, whatever I have to do. I'm dying to read it.
Yeah. She's a big cat lover. And so if you follow her on Facebook, you see a lot of her cat life.
Oh.
So that element will be brought into her book, I'm sure. I don't know. I'm excited. I've only read the first chapter too. In fact, we have a phone call tomorrow.
How can you see it? I guess you're busy writing. I'm not busy writing.
Well, I mean, she's still finishing it up, and yeah, I've been busy writing, and so I guess I'll be the first one to get to read it because we have to read chapters, right, and continue the story. But yeah, I'm really excited about it too. I'll be promoting the pants off of it come late November, November 1st.
We're getting comments. Love cats.
Oh, yeah.
Cats and dogs are equally good. I have 3 of each.
Oh, Shelly, well, you need to follow Wendy. Do you follow Wendy on Facebook? Because if not, you should, because she puts a lot about her cats.
Finn loves cats, and I am deathly allergic.
Oh, really?
So we can't have one, but he loves them. He must have been with one in a foster home, because if we go into the vet or, a pet store and there's a cat in a cage, he is up against the grates with pushing his nose through, sniffing as hard as he can, and they rub nose to nose, and he looks at me like, please take her home, and I
Aw.
can't.
He wants a pet, huh?
He does. He would love to have a kitty.
Yeah, that's so funny. Oh, Shelly says she does follow Wendy Good, so you get to see all her cats. Well, that'll come into her books, I'm sure.
Oh, cool. Good. That's
Yeah.
a good mix.
Yeah, I have
It's
dogs
fair.
and she has the cat. In fact, we had a cat named Pablo who was called Peanut at first. And Wendy rescued that little cat when I don't know, he was like a tiny little thing, maybe a week old or something. He was a feral cat, and this cat gave birth to a litter, and it was right near Wendy's house, and so she rescued Peanut, was the one that she could rescue, and they couldn't take another cat, so they gave him to us. We named him Pablo, and we had him for a long time, until he suddenly got fearful of our dogs. Well, we had a big dog at the time, and he just like got super skinny. He wasn't eating, he wasn't grooming, and so my son Jared, he's like, Pablo needs to come with me. So he took Pablo with him to California, and Pablo is having a good life now there on the beach.
Well, it's funny how they have their relationships and dynamics too, and it can be interesting. Because like our Shepherd Jr. really likes our cat Fritz. They've been buddies since Fritz was a kitten, and Fritz was never afraid of them. But the other dogs like don't really care. I mean, they get jealous if the cats come in the. Here's Fritz right now. Actually, he just came and jumped up here. They get jealous. Like Reggie gets jealous if the cats come down. She kind of considers the living room their domain, the dog domain, or whatever. But
well, okay. So Diane, you have to tell people about your cat history, man. It's crazy. Who is the
crazy cat lady?
She's the first
cat.
Yeah,
we had a high of 8 at one point, which of all those 8, only 2 of them we actually like officially went and got to adopt. The rest were all. We had a really bad feral cat problem in our neighborhood where we lived in Mansfield, Texas. And my rule was, I will feed you, but you're getting fixed, So when we first moved in, there was 3 black cats that were probably all, related somehow. And our neighbor across the street was feeding them. And then she moved and she asked me if I would take over feeding them. And I, told her I would, but I thought they're getting fixed. So, I had to kind of earn their trust before I could catch them. The male was this huge tomcat. I mean, he must have weighed about 18 pounds. And he never did trust us. We finally trapped him in the garage and got him fixed. But the little one, Rudolph, actually looked a lot like this shirt. Lisa got me this shirt. She looked like this. She was a little black cat with yellow eyes, gold eyes. And but anyway, so they, but we kind of got a lot of them at the same time. So that most of those have lived full lifespans and just kind of died of old age things. But Fritz, the one I just showed you, when we lived in a different place in Texas, the neighbor boys came over one day and they had him as a kitten. They said, our mom told us to bring you this kitten.
Oh, no way.
Okay, she did now. So apparently another neighbor had kind of dumped the kitten on these kids, and they had a boxer that probably would have killed the kitten. He was not good with kittens. And we already had, at that point, we probably had 5 cats. So one more wouldn't have made a difference.
Major cat lady, yes. Yes, Cheryl, she is such a major cat lady that she has a cat room. A room just for her cat.
Awesome. Don't tell Finn that. Don't listen.
He's so cute. So he likes a harness as opposed to a leash?
I don't know if he likes it, but he is so strong, and he'll just take off after something. When we had Mr. Snuggles, we didn't do a harness, and he ended up later in life with back issues and spine issues, and the doctor told us harnesses are better for their necks if they're pullers.
Yeah.
And he's the type where he'll walk great for 5 minutes and then hear a bird, and he's up on his back legs and he's jerking himself around, and so it just sort of distributes the pressure a little bit.
Yeah, because we tried that with our dogs and it just didn't work very well. But Melissa had some great harnesses with her dogs, so I may try it again because for that reason, and mine are getting old now. They don't pull as much as they used to, but I do feel like it is better about just not.
It's helpful for lifting them in old age too when you need to help them up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's able to wriggle out of them, but this particular brand, he can't wriggle out of. It's called a rough wear front range.
Okay.
I have to look that. Bean can't. He has to have a harness because he has no neck. He's a pug. So his neck and his head are the same size. So I put a collar on it and, he slips right out of it. So he has to have the harness.
Like those football players where their necks are all
yeah. Exactly.
Shelley's saying she currently has 4 cats. One came from a shelter. One was a rescue from the neighbor's landscaping. One needed rehoming in a hurry due to her friend's divorce. And the last one picked Chris. So yes, it's that when they come to you naturally like that, you feel like, okay, this was meant to be. It's fate.
Yeah.
None of our cats have less than 3. They all have at least 3.
Yeah. You got to have at least 3. You're not, it's not, you don't qualify even until you have 3.
Right.
Okay. I'll stick with my dogs.
Well, this was so much fun. I'm glad we got to meet you again face to face.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
I
readers and
real authors, I'm kind of interloping here a little. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's so fun, and I'm so glad that we met you. And thank you for letting Finn be on the cover of this book. Got a more prominent position in the cover of the next one, which is pretty cool.
No, it's going to his head.
Yeah, I know. So thank you guys so much.
And thanks all the warriors who joined in and have given us comments. I see Cheryl says she no longer has a dining room because of her cats. And she has a cat room too, an enclosed porch. That's perfect. Very
perfect. Yeah.
So thanks for everybody for coming by and joining in, and congratulations. I'm drinking out of my congratulations wine glass for Melissa's release. Congratulations.
And for Gwen's release today. Hold up your book.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have my today's book. I don't have in front of me, but this is the first one.
Okay, well, we'll put the Finn Chronicles contact information and all of that in the comments, so anybody who wants to can look it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.